Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And I've got another combination out here today that we haven't tried yet. And it's one that I'm hoping that we see some good results from. But after the previous test we did with these loads, I don't have the highest of hopes. But we don't know what it really can do until we try it. So I don't know, maybe it might surprise us today. So for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some more of these guys. These are the Hevi-Shot Hevi-Metal Turkey loads. These are a 12 gauge, 3.5 inch, 1.5 ounce of Bismuth number 4s, going about 1450. And here's what the shells actually look like here. And I know it doesn't come across all that well on camera, but these look like straight up like gold bars or something as for the color. But I will say that the last time we tested them here, they really didn't give us too much of a golden performance. So I guess we'll see what happens with them today. But as for the setup we're going to be running them through, I brought back out my Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag here again. But I threw in this choke, which is an Indian Creek 675 constriction turkey choke. And it has shown us some pretty good patterns in the past from different loads that we've tested through it. So maybe it might help these Hevi-Shot turkey loads out a little bit. So as for the test, it's going to be the same as we usually do it. I have a turkey target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll see how close we actually get to the 1450 that's on the box, because that is a pretty high velocity, so these things should be moving out pretty quick. So let's get you guys a view of this turkey target, and I'll head up to 40 yards and take our shot. Then we'll glance at what kind of chrono number we had, and we'll go down range and see how they actually performed. So let's head over here and shoot these Hevi-Shot loads and see if this Indian Creek might actually help them out this time. Okay, so that round gave us 1334 through the chrono. The box was claiming 1450, so we definitely are not seeing that. But I do think mid 1300s is what I remember from the last time we tested it. So at least they seem a little bit like they might be consistent, but definitely not nearly as fast as the 1450 that they claim. But either way, let's go down range and see how they actually performed, if this Indian Creek actually helped them out or not. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard target, and this is what we got. Now, we do have a dead bird here. There are 2 in the brain right there, and 1 more in the middle of his spine. So he is a dead bird. But if we back up and look here, clearly not a very impressive pattern. Now, I mean, for what it's worth, I think it might be a little bit better than the previous test we did with the stock turkey choke in that gun. But still, this is not at all what I would call a very impressive turkey pattern. You have shot covering most of this entire paper. I mean, definitely on the left side there, and most of the way all the way around the right and down to the bottom and everything else. Now, speaking of that pattern looking like it's a little bit to the left, I felt good about my shot placement, and I know that gun hits pretty dead center. So the bulk of this shot in this pattern definitely favored the left-hand side of the paper there. And I think the wad might tell us some answers here in a minute when we look at it. Because clearly, I mean, if you look at the edges, you can kind of see a circular pattern going up that corner and around the bottom and over to this side. Like the circular size of the pattern is pretty center, but the shot definitely favored to the left. But with that being said, I mean, would it do the job on a turkey out to 40? Yes. Would I trust it to do it reliably? No, I don't believe I would. That's a pretty decent-ish looking waterfowl pattern, at least what's over here to the left edge of the paper. But as for a turkey pattern, definitely still not really all that impressive looking. But like I mentioned a second ago, let's look at this wad, because I think it tells us a little bit about why we might see a pattern like this, or at least why most of the pellets favored the left-hand side of the pattern. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as we can immediately see here, it looks a little bit on the rough side. Now, it's not unusual for a wad that goes through an Indian Creek choke like that to look about like this petal right here, where you can see the grooves and some pinholes and stuff in it. That's pretty normal, but clearly, we ripped the petals off of both sides on that one right there. So, on one half, you kind of have a turkey-ish wad, and on the other half, you have a target wad. So that definitely did not help us, I don't think, and I would probably bet that that's why some of the shot favored to that left-hand edge of that pattern right there. These Indian Creek chokes are definitely not very nice on wads, and they seem to do this kind of stuff more so than not. But either way here, I mean, there's nothing stuck down in there or anything. Everything looks okay with the bottom half of the wad, but definitely had a little bit of a rough journey out the end of that barrel, which absolutely could have played a part into the pattern that we saw here today. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance there? Like I said at the beginning, I didn't have super high hopes for it coming in. I don't know that these shells are terrible necessarily, but I definitely don't think that they're some of the better ones out there. And even though we do have a dead turkey on the paper here, that pattern is just not very impressive. Now, do I think that that wad going through that Indian Creek choke might have had a little bit of something to do with it? Potentially, but it's not unusual for those Indian Creek chokes to be a little bit hard on wads like that. And we've seen good patterns through that choke where the wad looks kind of similar to that before, so I guess I'll leave that up for you guys to decide. But either way, leave your comments, let me know what you think about it. Is that about what you expected to see, or were you thinking it might be better? And if you have tried these loads, what has been your experience with them? But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. We do have an Instagram as well as a channel mailbox now, so if you're interested in any of that, I'll leave all that information in the description for you. But I'm going to get back to it. Stay tuned because we've got plenty more stuff coming, and I'll see y'all in the next one.